sub-amendment.
The honourable member for Davenport. Debate.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It is a true honour for me to speak in this House on behalf of the residents of Davenport on Federal Budget 2023. It was really wonderful for me to be back in the riding over the last 2 weeks, to get a chance to go out and talk to the various different Davenport residents and organizations and businesses about the different measures that we have in Federal Budget 2023. But before I go on, Madam Speaker, I want to say huge thanks to all of those who've made submissions in Budget 2023. There were over 700 Canadian stakeholders and organizations that made submissions. It's a huge effort. It was a lot of work, a lot of outstanding ideas, a lot of great creative thoughts, and so I wanted to say huge thanks to them. Madam Speaker, in the 7.5 years that I've been privileged to serve the residents of Davenport in this venerable House, Budget 2023 is the most targeted budget that has been introduced by our government. But what I think is really important to note is that it builds on the work and the investments that have already been announced and that have already been made in previous budgets. That said, there were 3 key sections that I'd like to speak on, depending on how much time I end up having. I want to talk about the major investments we're making in healthcare, including dental care. I want to talk about the huge investment in accelerating the clean economy in Canada. And I want to talk about the targeted investments in affordability that is going to continue to support our most vulnerable Canadians who continue to have such a difficult time with the high cost of living. So maybe that's where I'm going to begin, Madam Speaker, on affordability. We had to be very targeted with our spending in Budget 2023 and very much focused on delivering support to those who need it the most. And why is it that we had to be very targeted? It's because inflation continues to be very high, and we as a national government can't make it worse by big spending programs. Canadians want us to be responsible in our spending, and so that means we had to make some choices. So here are some of the affordability measures that we have introduced in our latest budget. We have introduced a one-time grocery rebate, providing $2.5 billion in targeted inflation relief for 11 million low and modest income Canadians and families. The grocery rebate will provide eligible couples with 2 children with up to an extra $467, and single Canadians without children an extra $234, and seniors an extra $225 on average. Another measure, Madam Speaker, that the federal government is making is we're taking additional steps to ensure more low-income Canadians can easily file their tax returns to receive the benefits that they are entitled. Budget 2023 announces that the federal government will increase the number of eligible Canadians who can do automatic tax filing to 2 million people by 2025, which is almost triple the current number. And I'll tell you, Madam Speaker, that for poverty advocates, this is something that they have been asking for a very long time. There's far too many Canadians that don't know what benefits they are entitled to, and so they leave that money on the table, and they tend to be the people that need the benefits the most. And the third measure I want to mention, although there's many others, is just some additional measures we have for our students. We need to continue to do all we can to help them as they go to school and study and try to start their careers in life. Our federal government had previously announced that the interest for Canada student loans and Canada apprentice loans have permanently been eliminated for all students. And now in Budget 2023, we provide more financial assistance for students by increasing the Canada student grants by 40% annually, and that will provide an additional $4,200 a year. And then as well, raising the interest-free Canada student loan limit from $210 a week to $300 per week of study. Now, I will tell you, Madam Speaker, part of the reason I was so happy to be back in Davenport is I got a chance to actually go and visit various different places across the riding just to hear what people were thinking about in terms of the different measures that we've introduced. So at O Nosso Talo, which is a really wonderful Portuguese grocery store in my riding, I talked to Sylvia, and Sylvia said to me that she loves the grocery rebate. She said every penny that is put into her bank account is dollars that she'll spend on her family that is going to be helpful to her in terms of meeting all the higher costs that she's seeing in terms of groceries. I also talked to Diana and Monica, who were at the grocery cash register, and they were also had a lot of positive things to say. They didn't know about the grocery tax rebate, and I know that they were going to pass it along to many other people. I also had a wonderful chance to visit the seniors at J.J. Piccinini Community Center. I stopped them on the way of them playing pickleball, and I talked to them about some of the measures that we had, and they were also very happy. And I also managed to talk to the Stop Community Food Center, the LA Center for Active Living, as well as the Abrigo Center. And so all of them were extraordinarily happy, either about the automatic tax filing, the dental care program, which I'll talk about in a couple of minutes, as well as the grocery rebate. So lots of thumbs up across the riding of Davenport. Madam Speaker, I also want to mention a few measures that mean a lot to small businesses in my riding. The lowering of the credit card transaction fees for small business was huge. I don't know what's happening in your riding, Madam Speaker, but I will say to my riding, our small businesses are really struggling. And so they said anything that will help keep some money within their own businesses so they could reinvest in their business, so they can cover some of the higher costs, so they can pay more wages, is going to be helpful to them. So our federal government has secured commitments from Visa and MasterCard to lower fees for small businesses while also protecting reward points for Canadian consumers offered by Canada's largest banks. More than 90% of credit card accepting businesses will see their interchange fees reduced by up to 27% from the existing weighted average rate. And these reductions are expected to save eligible small businesses in Canada approximately $1 billion over 5 years. So that's a lot of money, and they are very happy about this. I'll also say to you, Madam Speaker, is it also, a lot of businesses didn't want to pay this extra interchange fee, so many of them weren't accepting credit cards. So I'll tell you now that actually allows them to accept credit cards. It makes it more affordable for them, and that means they're going to have more customers that are willing to spend more money. The other item that is big for many of the craft brewers, which are small businesses in my riding, is the freezing of the excise tax on beer, wine, and alcohol at 2% for 1 year. It's huge for them. It is something that the industry has been asking for. I'm very blessed in my riding of Davenport to have a lot of really wonderful craft brewers. And so when I went in and told them about this freezing of the excise tax, they were extraordinarily happy. So I just want to give a huge shout out to Henderson Brewing. Thanks so much for welcoming me. Thanks so much for talking to me. And thanks so much for advocating for this. I do know that all the other craft brewers in my riding are very happy about it as well. And then I also want to thank all the West Queen West businesses that I managed to pop by in, the Dog and Bear Pub, Hello 123, and Nunu Ethiopian Fusion Restaurant, who all said that they were extremely delighted to hear about the lowering of the credit card transaction fees. So, Madam Speaker, I'm now going to move into healthcare. And I'll tell you, we've all heard about the long lineups in terms of the surgery backlogs. We've heard about emergency rooms being too full and taking a long time to serve Canadians. We've heard about Canadians not having access to doctors and lack of funding for mental health, among many other issues. And I'll tell you, I had a chance to visit thousands of doors in my riding of Davenport in the months of January and February. And I will tell you, this was one of the top of mind issues about them. And they all said, Julie, it would be really great if the federal government could step up and better support provinces with health care. So step up we did, Madam Speaker. In Budget 2023, we made major investments, adding an additional $195.8 billion over 10 years. So key items to highlight is we've increased the Canada Health Transfer by about 5% a year. We've done an immediate $2 billion top-up to address the urgent pressures that I had mentioned around emergency rooms, operating rooms, and pediatric hospitals. We have put an additional $25 billion for bilateral agreements to address the need for more dollars for mental health, to ensure that more Canadians have access to family doctors, among many other things, and far more money to support the hourly wage increases for personal support workers, more money to strengthen the retirement savings of personal support workers without workplace retirement security coverage, and more money to expand the reach of Canada's student loan forgiveness programs for doctors and nurses who work in underserved rural or remote communities, including all communities with populations of 30,000 or fewer. So I think, Madam Speaker, you've given me the 1 minute mark, and I don't know, I seem to have not covered very much, but I just want to say this is a really excellent budget for the residents of Davenport. It's very targeted, and so I want to encourage all members of this House to support it when it comes time to vote. Thanks so much, Madam Speaker.
Questions and comments? The Honourable Member for Caribou Prince George.
Madam Speaker, and I want to thank our honourable colleague from Davenport for her comments today, her intervention on budgetary policy. Madam Speaker, she spoke about the mental health, and as many of our colleagues know that I've dedicated the last 7.5 years of my political tenure to championing mental health within our country. A national mental health transfer is one of the things that this government and the Liberals ran on in 2021. They promised a $4.5 billion mental health transfer so we could finally view mental health in parity with physical health. Yet they walked back on this and they lied to Canadians. I want to ask through you, Madam Speaker, they misled.
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Government House Leader.
Just following a lengthy point of privilege regarding using that word in this House, the member should apologize for using that word.
The member did correct himself.
Thank you.
Please, yeah, apologies would be nice.
Madam Speaker, they misled Canadians on such a vital promise during the 2021 election. And through you, Madam Speaker, I want to ask our honourable colleague what she has to say to that.
Davenport.
Madam Speaker, I just want to thank the honourable member for his amazing leadership in terms of advocating for more mental health support. I don't think there's anybody in this House that doesn't agree that we need to have far more investment in mental health services. I think that at all levels, we have not provided enough in the past. I will say to you, there's been an enormous top-up and enormous investment in federal budget 2023. I know that in Ontario, they have signed a bilateral agreement, and I will tell you that the organizations that advocate for mental health supports in my riding are very happy, and they're looking forward to additional dollars flowing in this area. So thank you for your enormous leadership to the member on the opposite side. We do need to do more, and we will do more.
Questions et commentaires, l'honorable député de Shefford.
Merci beaucoup, Madame.
Thank you very much. I'd like to thank my colleague for her speech. She added a word about helping with groceries, about $225 more compared to what? It's a one-time check. Will help at the grocery store. I mean, of course, seniors are not going to be against this, but a one-time check of $225, is that really going to help? Seniors groups insist that we need to improve their financial situation over the long term and not just through one-time checks that will arrive at a specific point in time. The Honourable Member.
I want to thank the Honourable Member for her question. As I mentioned at the beginning of my speech, we have a very targeted budget with very targeted support to our most vulnerable. But it should be taken in concert of all the other measures that we have introduced. So I'll tell you, the seniors in my riding, those who are 75 and older, they were very happy to have an increase of 10% on their OAS. They were very happy for past GST rebates. That has been very helpful to them. I'll talk in terms of families in my riding. They love the grocery rebate because it's on top of the Canada Child Benefit that they've already been receiving that's been introduced by our government, as well as the National Child Care Plan that we've introduced, in which they've seen 50% of their costs on a monthly basis reduced. So it's never taken sort of in isolation. We've introduced so many measures that help low and middle class Canadians to better support the high cost of living today. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Honourable Member for Victoria.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and I want to thank the member for her speech. I wanted to raise the issue of dental care, which is encouraging to see in this budget. It makes such a huge difference for people who are struggling with the pain of not being able to fix their teeth. We know that kids, one of the most common surgeries that happen in pediatric hospitals is dental surgery. But knowing that people with disabilities, seniors, kids under 18 are having to wait until the end of the year, I would like to see people be able to fix their teeth now. And in June of 2021, the member voted against dental care when the NDP put this forward as a private member's bill. The Liberals voted against dental care in February of 2020 when we used our opposition date to put forward a motion. And so I'm curious, given the fact that these delays are because...
To give the Honourable Member for Davenport the time to answer. The Honourable Member for Davenport, 20 seconds.
I want to thank the Honourable Member for her question. I'll say to her that actions speak louder than words. So I think that we're very proud of the fact that we have worked with the NDP on the Supply and Confidence Agreement. The Supply and Confidence Agreement is about what is it that we could work on together that we both agree on. Dental care is a key item that is part, or more money for healthcare was a key part of that. And so I'm very proud that we are introducing a dental care plan by the end of this year. Thank you.